The Washington Post did a 4-month investigation on documents that were leaked by Edward Snowden to kind of delve into the type of information that is in the NSA files, in their data that they collect on us. Now, as you guys know, you have authorities and officials like Clapper and the Obama administration basically saying, no, don't worry about it. We're just collecting metadata on everyone. It's not a big deal. We're not going into the specifics of your personal life. Well, this investigation shows that that's not necessarily the case. Now, the Washington Post actually did a really good job at providing a balanced analysis of what's really going on in the NSA. They start off by explaining how some of the NSA spying has actually led to good things. So I'll give you an example. According to the Washington Post, there are discoveries of considerable intelligence value in the intercepted messages and collateral harm to privacy on a scale that the Obama administration has not been willing to address. However, they say that the contents leaked by NSA surveillance documents include secret overseas nuclear projects, double dealing by an ostensible ally, a military calamity that befell an unfriendly power. So they can't get into specifics because they're worried that it's actually going to lead into the people that we're targeting finding out and then changing the course of their actions, okay? But nonetheless, they start talking about completely innocent Americans and how their privacy has been violated and how their identities have not been taken out of these documents. Therefore, anyone who works for these private contractors can basically figure out who these people are, what they're up to, and whatever salacious events are happening in their personal lives. I'll give you examples. So 9 of 10 account holders found in a large cache of intercepted conversations, which former NSA contractor Edward Snowden provided in full to the Post, were not the intended surveillance targets, but were caught in a net the agency had cast for somebody else. Many other files described as useless by the analysts, but nonetheless retained, have a startlingly intimate, even voyeuristic quality. They tell stories of love and heartbreak, illicit sexual liaisons, mental health crises, political and religious conversions, financial anxieties, and disappointed hopes. The daily lives of more than 10,000 account holders who were not targeted are cataloged and recorded nonetheless.
So this is exactly what we had been fearing. The reason why this is an interesting revelation is because Snowden actually captured a real investigation, took the real files and brought it to the Washington Post. It took so long to bring it out because they had to examine it incredibly carefully to make sure that they weren't revealing any information that we shouldn't be revealing about our secrets, right? And so meanwhile, the NSA had been saying, oh, Snowden didn't have access to that kind of information, ha ha ha. And it turns out, of course, as usual, the NSA was lying. Snowden did have access to that information. They knew he had access to that information, and it's now revealed. And what's interesting about it is when you look at an actual case, number one, they say, look, some of the information did have intelligence value. But that was the information about the guy being targeted, right? Everything else was overly broad and the great majority of the stuff was not about him, but was about innocent Americans, 9 out of 10, right? And then they wound up eventually affecting over 10,000 account holders, as Anna just read. And what do they have? They have exactly as she explained there, a voyeuristic quality, and they have all these data on people and their illicit sexual liaisons. They comment on them in emails back and forth. And so, oh, they would never look into your private lives if you're not relevant. In the old days, you needed a warrant. And to say, this guy's got issues and we're worried about he might do some damage, then you can go ahead and get the mobster's info, the terrorist info, etc. Even if it turns out to be false, at least you have decent allegations. That's why you suspected the guy. That's why you went into his private life. Here, you go into 10,000 people's private lives without getting a warrant.
Initially, yes, you needed a warrant, and in order to obtain that warrant, you needed probable cause. But in the vast majority of these cases, that's not what occurred. And it's problematic for a number of different reasons, right? First of all, the information gets collected regardless, in an illegal way, if you ask me. And then to top it off, when they collect that information and they realize that the person was a missed target or someone that they shouldn't have collected the data on, they decide, you know what, we're going to keep it on file anyway, even though it's irrelevant and even though we should get rid of it. And then to top it off, instead of censoring the names of the particular people in this data, they decide, no, you know what, we're going to keep it. We're not going to hide or censor their identity. And that's a problem, especially when you consider how many private contractors and how many people who work for the government have access to this information. So let me give you some more specifics on the type of information that they collect. According to the Washington Post, scores of pictures show infants and toddlers in bathtubs, on swings, sprawled on their backs and kissed by their mothers. In some photos, men show off their physiques. In others, women model lingerie, leaning suggestively into a webcam or striking risque poses in shorts and bikini tops. Oh, that's definitely relevant intelligence that they should keep on file, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, why don't you, as soon as you have the risque pictures of a person that you know is not a target, why don't you just delete them? Nope, I'm going to keep them just in case, right? They kept 160,000 intercepted emails and instant message conversations. Among these, it's actually over 11,000 people that they targeted, okay? And again, they're not supposed to target the Americans. Now, they get around it, and sometimes they'll ask for a warrant, they won't get one. And then they'll go, oh, who cares? Use these two programs, the internet programs that were revealed earlier, Prism and Upstream, the ones they use in these instances. And they'll say, well, if we think they're a foreigner, we can target them pretending they're a foreigner without finding out if they're an American or not. So if anybody ever writes in a foreign language, like Spanish or whatever your native language
They'll
is.
consider that person a foreign national, and if that person is a foreign national, then they have less standards in collecting information on them. And it's absolutely ridiculous. From the Washington Post again, by law, the NSA may target only foreign nationals located overseas unless it obtains a warrant based on probable cause from a special surveillance court. For collection under PRISM and Upstream rules, analysts must state a reasonable belief that the target has information of value about a foreign government, a terrorist organization, or the spread of non-conventional weapons. In the vast majority of cases, if someone is emailing in a foreign language, that's it. That's enough reason for them to consider that individual a foreign national. And think of how many Americans speak a second language, speak something other than English. I mean, it's very, very broad. It's a broad policy that allows them to violate all of our rights. And it's scary to know that this is happening. And the only other point that I want to make on this, Cenk, is it's frustrating to know that this has happened. This information was leaked last summer. And since then, there's been a steady trickle of more and more information on how our privacy is being violated. And yet, whenever it comes to constitutional rights or defending our rights, we have these ridiculous heated conversations about gun laws and how we can't have any common sense gun laws because it violates our Second Amendment. But what about our privacy rights? What about all those people who walk into fast food restaurants with their big assault weapons? Are they worried about their privacy at all? Are they worried that their wives or their girlfriends are being spied on and any salacious naked picture that they send to their loved ones could be sent to the NSA? I mean, that's something to actually worry about. But for some reason, we just ignore all of this. We don't do anything about it, and we still have the debate about the gun laws.
Now, to build on that, by the way, it's not just if you speak a foreign language. If you use a foreign website, like for example, to watch the World Cup on the internet, yeah, good enough to consider you foreign. I mean, they're obviously cheating. They don't care if you're foreign or not. They want to collect the information. And by the way, the pictures that Anna talked about that they got of all the risque poses, the baby pictures in bathtubs, by the way, every single one of them was determined to be irrelevant. Irrelevant. And they kept them anyway. Okay? So it makes you wonder what their real purpose is. And if you want to blame Obama, as Anna's talking about with the gun rights, oh, Obama's going to take my guns. Actually, this program grew, according to the Washington Post, quote, exponentially under Obama. Obama, who promised us change in the biggest transparent government the world has ever seen. He said that, right? Instead gave us the least transparent government that violated our civil liberties the most in this case. Why don't you get angry about the real issues?
Yep.
And they said, oh, the transgressions against American citizens were limited. But according to this, if you extrapolate the percentages in this limited study to what happened last year, then they violated the privacy of at least 900,000 Americans last year. They've got your kids in a bathtub. They've got pictures of your wife wearing risque stuff. And you're not mad about that. You're mad about non-existent gun takeaways when there are no gun takeaways. They took away your rights. Get mad about that.
Yeah, if you want to be politically active and you want to stir the pot, you want to go against authority, well, all of a sudden the NSA and the Obama administration knows very, very intimate details about your personal life. It could be used as a form of intimidation. In the past, it has been used as a form of intimidation. So you should be worried about your rights being violated in this particular case.
Think about it. It's not just trusted government officials. And if you trust government officials, as a conservative, I'm quite surprised at you, okay, that have access to the information. It's private contractors like Edward Snowden. He obviously had access to it, and he turned it over to the Washington Post. All those guys have access to your pictures, okay? And he said you can do a search on anybody. So it's not just random people either, right? If you want, you could target people. Nobody's going to abuse that. You're crazy if you think they're not going to abuse that.
Yeah.
And then finally, the U.S. did make some efforts to black out names, redact names. And sometimes they would redact the names of people that were involved, although it was comical at times because they have information on President Obama and they would say, the president-elect shall not be named. Okay, yeah, we know who that guy is.
Nailed it.
Okay, that was in the pre-Obama years, obviously, as he was transitioning in. But my favorite is they would then block out the most important names, the names of corporations. So if they've accidentally spied on a corporation, now that's serious business, okay? And that's got to be, make sure that you strike that from the record, because those are the people with real rights.
Yep.
The rest of you, we can spy in on your families all we like.